ChatGPT is the product with fastest user adoption ever.
I think it's 2 months, 100 million is the fastest from a new product launch to reach 100 million active users in history.
Do you see any downsides of the progression of artificial intelligence?
Yes, it's like most things, it's a double-edged sword. So I don't think about intelligence just as solving a math problem or pass the bar, but really these emotional connections, or we call EQ.
What is your take on artificial general intelligence? Well, we can dive right in. I think speaking with someone who has gathered so much experience in the tech space, especially in Silicon Valley. I find this remarkable, and like you have bounced around in a very good way. I mean, between the fastest growing startups as well as the big tech giants, and you are one of the few people that I think can confidently say that you have seen it all pretty much. What has it been like for you to be navigating your path in tech space from being an engineer to leading big engineering teams, as well as pursuing your own path with angel investing, potentially bigger investing, and now again back to the roots, funding your own new startup.
Yeah, thank you for the compliments. It definitely was a very interesting journey. When people ask me about career development and career paths, I always say, do not follow this path. I do not recommend it. And some of it was just coincidental. Companies I went through acquisitions and so forth. It's not lack of commitment, but it's actually quite the opposite. It is my relentless commitment to advancing technology, to perpetual learning, to putting myself in the best environment where I can learn, I can grow, and I can contribute and make a big impact. And then also I think I'm a little bit of a conflict personality there. As part of it, I do love being a part of a very large team and being able to contribute at a global scale. And of course, just learn from the best technologists, computer scientists, and best run companies. On the other side, that I have this entrepreneurial spirit. I think you, as a founder, would understand. So that always, really drives me wanting to be part of a smaller company and do something completely new and disruptive.
What makes you think these days? Where do you see the biggest potential to leverage your skills after gaining a lot of experience from various different areas with various different technologies? Where do you see the exciting application of it these days?
Yeah, the field we're in technology, in software, of course, the experience matter, but I actually think they don't matter as much. But what matters more is our ability to learn, that relentless sense of curiosity, because the field just is evolving so fast. So when I first started my career, I was fortunate. It was right in the wave of internet, of software becoming online. I was part of in my first couple jobs. I think we were shipping software with shrink wrap on a DVD case, and you put it on the bookshelf, right? And now it's kind of hard to wrap your mind around buying software and put it on a bookshelf.
Box software of the old days, right?
Yeah, and now by default everything is online, and then mobile became prevalent. That's when we first collaborated at Tinder. That was 2016, yeah, and that was from 2008, right, to now, we all have a compute device with us, almost 24/7, and that become ubiquitous, right? And that really changed both interactions and also how we communicate. In Tinder's case, like how young people, meet new friends and find partners and so forth. And so that was another wave of changing, and of course, right, without without a doubt, we're in another wave of platform shift with generative AI, ChatGPT. Cross modality, generative capabilities. I fully believe this new experience will also become ubiquitous, and we're not there yet. It's still at the very early stage of that progress.
I think when it comes to personalization, for example, the interesting approach that I see is that every single individual is different and every single person wants to consume content differently, right? Someone might want to read, someone might want to listen, someone would like to look at short form video, someone might prefer a long form video. We are all different, and I think what we will see now with the advancements of the technology, that the platform does not really matter because it's always individualized to a person. And I see it in my case that for me, any kind of audio content is way easier consumed than, for example, reading stuff. And for me, actually, like my brain, for some reason, is very much used to multitasking all the time. So I love listening to something while doing something else. And so I think that there are a lot of new opportunities, as you mentioned, with the platform shifts, right? That we will suddenly see that we can tailor those experiences. And it's not that the products are built in a certain way, but the products will be actually very much personalized, and they will be serving you exactly what you need.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree that there will be an even deeper level of personalization, and not just at the consumption level, but also at the creation level, right? So I think when internet became everywhere, right? Media consumption became streaming, right? We used to buy CDs, we used to buy books, and now everything's digital, everything's streaming. And then with the mobile devices, it becomes portable, right? It's like always on, it's always with you. And with generative AI, I think we've already seen, right, a flood of content became available. You can create an image, and I've seen demos that you can create songs as well. You can describe them in words. You can put things together, and AI would really tailor to your need and create something you would enjoy experiencing. Well, that said, right, that brings up some concerns on the legality side. I think technology is advancing faster than legislation. It seems like that's been the case. If you look back in history, but eventually it will catch up. So it's interesting to see how this field continue to evolve.
Yeah, I think you are 100% right that the legislation tends to progress a little slower than the pace of technology. And we are likely on the exponential curve when it comes to how fast things are evolving. And what I would love to do is to tap into your brain a little bit and hear what you think about where things are headed next, because I love to immerse myself with all the new form factors of a device, right? Messed around with Vision Pro a lot, and I like it because it brings, in my opinion, a totally new perspective, new experience. I got a pair of the Ray-Ban Meta
Yeah.
glasses, and I love the form factor of that as well, although it does not do anything super groundbreaking. Just the fact that you can go for a casual run and you have your camera with you and you can record stuff, and You can play music through it. You can use voice commands, etc. And you don't have to carry your mobile phone with you. I think that we will see a lot of shifts, right? We moved from being mostly on desktop to being mostly on mobile these days. That's where everyone is, right? But we will also likely see further shifts into leveraging other ways to interact with the technology. So I would love to hear what you think where things are headed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with your assessment and share some of the similar experiences. Meta Reality Lab is a amazing team. I feel very proud to have the chance to work with that team a couple years ago, and fully expect they will continue to execute and deliver amazing experiences. So the advancement comes both on the hardware side, right? Either sensors or compute or network connectivity will shrink and become lighter and smaller and more accurate. So it will just be able to capture additional data. And we also talked about deeper level of personalization. We'll talk about generative experiences. So I do see all of this come together. And then wearables, AR, VR will continue to evolve. We're still only scratching the surface at the very, very early days. And PlayStation also has a great VR experience as well, right? It is tethered to the PlayStation, so they have that advantage. It's not a detached device like the others are, so they just have more compute, but they have content that was designed and created specifically for that experience is quite amazing. So that's on the kind of the wearable, the new experience side, and then going back to the third platform shift with generative AI, I do expect to see and also hope to see the interactive model evolve. Right, so this amazing technology, it can pass the bar, get an MD, and all of that, but most interaction is still the text box. You enter some text and you get a paragraph text back. That is very, very, very old school, right? I think that's been around for 100 years. And what's the new interaction going to look like, right? Exactly like you described, it's going to be, multimodality. It will be deeply personalized, but we haven't really seen a lot of applications there yet. And the other factor, I think, is still pretty high barrier for anybody to create experience. It's also quite expensive as well. If you look at how the models are priced. As a developer myself, I was playing around with it. I was like, this is. I hope to see the barrier come down, and anybody can create a new experience leveraging these new generative abilities.
There's billions of dollars being poured into the space
Many, many billions of dollars.
Right? It's one of the hottest trends. And I think it only makes sense. And I totally understand why the big companies are pouring insane amounts of money, because they have the distribution, right? They have the customers, and if they can win them over with being the pioneers when it comes to the AI tools, etc. I think that it's definitely worth the shot. But yeah, these are crazy amounts that are being poured into the space, regardless. But do you see any downsides of the progression of artificial intelligence, or does it ever make you worried about where we are headed in the long run?
Yes, it's like most things, it's a double-edged sword, right? I love chocolate, but I can't be eating too much chocolate. And So going back to this kind of massive amount of investment, you and I, we started our startup in the mobile wave. I could say I bought a Apple laptop for like $2,000. I was ready to go, right? We can build amazing experiences. Yeah.
I actually have a very, very similar story that goes back to when I got the first scholarship to go to study in college in England, and I took the scholarship and I bought my first MacBook.
Yeah, yeah. That's all. That's all it took, right? You buy a MacBook, you're ready to build iPhone apps, and you can put in the App Store, right? And kind of the rest is history. This wave, I do think the barrier is higher, right? It takes compute, and compute is not is available, but it's not inexpensive. So it's great to see there are a lot of investment that went in because it's necessary, right? So the generative AI, I think there's three factors, right? It's the output of algorithms that are truly scalable and parallel, and also brings in intelligence. And the other one is training data because I'll rely on massive amount of data to train. The third is compute. There has been a shortage of GPUs because these algorithms perform really well. GPUs is a lot more challenging to run them on CPUs, and therefore there has been a shortage of GPUs. I was reading like they're selling GPUs for tens of $1,000s on a gray market. They say this tiny little graphic card you can fit in your hand is worth more than a Tesla. So that's yes, that's insane. And you need many of them, right, to really
Of course you do.
to run the large models and so forth. So it is necessary that all these big companies and investors pour so much capital so that we saw this groundbreaking, the availability of this technology, and it's also becoming like fierce, competitive, right? Competition fosters advancement, right? Like, as usual. But that said, I would love to see personally a more kind of democratized access, right? I do think it's the barrier is pretty high. Even yesterday, we were chatting that how much money do you need to raise to train a new model, right? It's not a small amount.
I would still love to get an answer to that, which I think will come at some point, but it's definitely not cheap, right? If you want to play in the space,
it's very expensive.
You pretty much have to be a heavy hitter. Mm-hmm. At the same time, I think that the investors are more inclined because they see the massive opportunity and they are willing to take a big risk with this opportunity versus if your startup does something in real estate, right? Real estate is probably one of the segments that is mostly more laid back, standard, people don't go that crazy. So I think that there is a big difference, but still, it requires massive volume of capital.
Yeah, but like any other new technology, that price will come down. It will become democratized, right? Access will be easier, and this had happened over and over and over again. And now thinking back, that how I started on this journey when I was a teenager, I was in high school. I begged my mom or maybe manipulated her a little bit to buy me a PC. It was a 386, age revealing. That was a very long time ago. and now I just have, so much gratitude for her support because that computer costed her a fortune. It's a significant portion of her whole year's salary as a professor, and she had to save to buy me that computer. But now, it's
fast forward. Look at that. It's been a great investment.
Yes. But now, you're right. Like the phones that we have, even you buy a little toy, it has more compute power, right? Than that. So I do expect that the access point, the barrier, will be lower and lower over time.
It will certainly drop, but I think now it's, as I mentioned, for the heavy hitters. Mm-hmm. But even the big players, they try to pave the way of building it as open source and sharing their developments with others. I think Meta was one of the first ones to officially go with the open source model, and they have done it right. You have probably experienced firsthand, but that they have done it in a lot of other areas when it comes to different frameworks, technologies, etc. And I think this is yet another example that, like, if we want this area to scale fast, we need to open it up, right? It can't be just one organization controlling it all.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was very happy. I loved seeing open source. Meta, Mistra, and many others. It is a little different to open source a model versus, say, Linux and MySQL. We can go there and read the code if we like. If you have spare time on a weekend, we can go read Linux code base together for fun. But these models, there's actually a very massive set of mathematical functions and parameters. So like we can't really read it per se, but in terms of how the models are trained, what training data are going that those I think companies are hold a little bit more closer to their chest, right? So it works. Of course, it helps by making these models available because we can then run fine tuning, apply another layer of reinforcement learning and so on and so forth, and access the API and run inference and so forth. But that said, it doesn't quite lower the barrier that we can all fully understand how it came to be, and then you and I can create another model to solve some specific problems easily. I do hope to see that's the future that I see a lot of movements in this space heading that direction. Hopefully that will become the reality, and we can build models for fun on the weekends.
So, as you are now embarking on this new journey of building your own startup in AI, how did you make the decision that it was the right moment and that you are in the right spot to build something that is not yet out there and compete with all the players that are now entering the space, because it's one of the hottest areas of technology, and there's a lot of eyeballs of people that are looking at the space and that are trying to do something in the space. So I'd love to just hear, what is the thesis that you have where you'd like to make an impact?
Yeah. So the decision part, I think a lot of it is both emotional and rational. I did feel a sense of urgency and a sense of purpose, right? I've been working in the field of AI for a very long time, including my study in a graduate school. My thesis was in the space of making predictions, right? And then also worked at Zillow, worked at Microsoft and Yahoo on personalization and predictive models, and most recently at Meta and Google. I feel like, okay, all of this years of experience kind of led me to 2024, and there was this kind of explosion of availability of new technology. At the same time, I do see gaps, right? I do see that, there's still a lot of pinpoints, right? There's still, for example, if you want to build a generative AI experience, there's just all these barriers you have to, all the hoops you have to jump through. So it kind of got me a little bit obsessed of, okay, how can we solve these problems, not just for myself, so I can build a, perfect little app, but we can make this a solution available to all the developers in the world. And a part of it is also a little academic, just kind of reading papers and kind of thinking, how do we, apply these advancement in technology and make them available in applications. You mentioned competition. I think it's just in the news a little bit more because of, ChatGPT and some of the controversials and the stories of hallucination and so on and so forth. It is in the news a little bit more. But I think, when we started building iPhone apps at startups, they were even not lack of competition. Right now, Android and iOS collectively has over 5 million apps, right? And talk about competition. That is a lot, right? And so that means, it's also very global. There are a lot of developers all over the world that are building these experiences. I hope to see the same thing happen for generative AI. But right now, the competition is very concentrated, right? So in terms of number of competition, I think is actually lower, just very subjective based on my observation.
I think, yeah, when it comes to the actual number of startups, it can't really compare with the amount of mobile applications that are in the App Store and Google Play. At the same time, I think, as I mentioned, it's also about the eyeballs, right?
Mhm.
The people that are looking at the space and looking at like what is happening there, and like um, you also mentioned when we were chatting yesterday that ChatGPT is the product with fastest user adoption ever, right? They have grown to uh, millions of users in no time.
I think it's 2 months, 100 million is the fastest from a new product launch to reach 100 million active users in history. Yeah.
It spread so quickly that it's insane, and like I just wonder what will be the product to beat that, because you are suddenly tapping into the area that you have a product that suddenly impacts a large portion of the
Mhm.
population, right? Is the next product
Yeah.
gonna reach 500 million in the first couple of months? And how big, like, these are insane numbers. How do you even comprehend building an infrastructure that is able to support something like that? And
Yeah.
when you look at it from the flip side, what amount of resources do you need to be able to cope with that? Because
Yeah.
after all, if you are running a new product, you're likely a startup.
Mhm.
You're likely a startup with limited funding. And then suddenly, if something grows that quickly and you see your expenses going through the roof, then you have to act quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is amazing. I think that explosive growth was, somewhat unexpected. And the irony was, the story of OpenAI and ChatGPT, and it's such a awkward name, right? I wouldn't call it the typical consumer name. And so I asked around, and this is not verified. It is from friends chatting over dinner that the intention was actually to build just a demo of the model of the algorithm, and they just named it after the model, and but now it has become a new English word, a new word that's globally recognized. What GPT is, and going back to the UI is so primitive, but still the experience is so magical. But I don't think that's the destination. It's just really a demo. Take a peek, right, of the capabilities now. AI or compute and algorithms could deliver for you, and my understanding this is OpenAI and many other companies, Google and Facebook and Anthropic and many others in the space, they want to make this capability available, right, to many developers. They all have APIs. Some of the models are open sourced, so it's yet to see. But I'm very much, I have a high conviction that we'll see this capability become truly ubiquitous in every app we open, that it has these generative AI capabilities.
I have um, kind of a sense that, like, when I hear from my mom that she used Microsoft Copilot to put
Mm-hmm.
together an invitation to an event that she is throwing, I to me it means that, okay, like, if it reached my mom, there is
That's awesome.
there is a decent level of adoption already, and like it's impressive that, like, my mom is not the biggest tech person out there. I mean, she is fairly capable of navigating, but I was impressed when she told me that, like, she generated the invitation, and she asked for some improvements to make
Yeah.
it funny and to make it
Oh.
in a certain theme. And
Yeah.
she really tapped into
Yeah.
the creative side of
Yeah.
leveraging these tools, and I was impressed. And I think that also speaks about how it spreads, because, like, for us it's very natural that we try every single new piece of tech or every single new gadget, right? Because like that's what we do. That's what make us thrive. But when it spreads across generations, and when we see that there's a lot of people already using it for
That's awesome.
useful things,
Yeah.
that means a lot. And you mentioned that it might have been intended as just a showcase,
Mhm.
but yeah, it probably spread a little
It
too
worked.
quickly.
It is a magical experience, and that's definitely evidence of product reaching mass market, right? When you see cross generation adoption, and it's also, I think, the best part of technology is to empower people and enable them to be more creative, to do more, to do better than without, right? I think those kind of is beyond efficiency gain or automation, but really unleashing that personality, that creativity, right? Like you said, your mom can create a invitation that is funny, maybe with AI generated video and everything, right? That's just so fun.
Yeah, I think that she got the whole copy of the invitation created, and then she was asking me to put some visuals to it, and I was
Mhm.
like, no, I'm not the right person to do that. But there is tools for it too, right?
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think that there is an immense potential for sure. What I would love to know, you mentioned that you see some gaps in terms of what's missing and what you would like to be solving. Are there any examples what you would like to be focused on with your AI endeavor?
Yeah, yeah. So one thing is I alluded to is experimenting with new interactions, new interface, like go beyond the text box and paragraphs of text returned. Yeah, so that's in the progress. And then the other part is think of models in a different way, right? To be a little bit more specialized and even a personalized model, right? So right now, ChatGPT, 4.0 Turbo, very, very powerful, right? And you look at the benchmark data. That's the smartest, I think it's beyond imagination. But I might need a different kind of AI to solve a different kind of problem that one is solving, right? And so that's also something I've been exploring and researching and thinking. I personally hope to see that. I hope to see that the ability to create models, to train models, to fine tune models is, democratized and accessible, by all the developers, right? But right now, I feel like the gate is there, and then kind of there's a little bit of sense of the haves and haves not. Do you got GPUs? How many GPUs you got, right? And also, those are highly complex statistical models, right? There's a very high barrier on the learning side as well to acquire that knowledge, to have that precise understanding. Yeah, I hope to see, and I'm working on to further kind of reduce the barrier, and then kind of invite more developers and engineers to participate, and I believe that will create a much healthier ecosystem and a more effective way, more efficient way of solving many problems. Yeah.
And so, with Proactive AI Lab, um, do you see it more moving from like the generalist approach, right? Building a model that can do everything at a very high level, to more personal, more like targeted, like being the best in one particular area, and basically solely focus on that?
We are still exploring, right? Hopefully, if things go well, that we will share our plan publicly. But right now, the focus is really to reduce friction and lower barrier, and make these capabilities more available, because I believe it's not one person or one team that are super smart, and we have access to H100 and all that, and we can create some amazing solutions. But it really is, how can we invite more smart people, developers everywhere to join us on this journey, right? That's what I hope to see.
How did you go about assembling the right people to go on a journey with you? Because like You have had
Yeah.
a long experience of leading tech teams, but now you are basically building a new startup in a space that is, that requires some of the smartest brains. So how did you go about
Yeah,
that challenge?
that is the hardest part for sure. And I have so much gratitude that the at the very early stage, it has to be people you already know, relationship driven, because posting a job and asking people to apply is not going to be fruitful, especially when the company is still in stealth mode. One is I already have like a community of friends and colleagues or former colleagues that we have a shared passion and interest. So we already have like a discussion group to keep each other posted on what we've learned, what we've seen, passing research papers for each other to read and share our takeaways. And so kind of start there. And apparently I wasn't the only person who wanted to do something. And then, okay, let's solve these problems together. It is very heartwarming to have people kind of joining on this path. Like I said earlier, we will be publicly announcing the company. We're doing a little bit of a pre-review here, but it's absolutely a superstar team, and most importantly, is a team of people that really share this sense of mission together, of wanting to solve these really tough problems, so to build a bridge to a better future together.
And like in today's world, when the technology is evolving so fast, how much time do you dedicate yourself to basically being able to keep up with all the news out there? Because
Yeah.
I feel like that's one of the greatest abilities that we need to have today. It's not about the facts and knowing all the things from the top of your mind. I think that's the ability to learn quickly and adapt is what will be the most needed skill set in the future. So how do you focus on like making sure that you give it the right amount of time to keep up with everything that is happening, because it's a lot?
Yeah, it is a lot. I think you're right. It's the right amount is not necessarily the more the better. Right? There has to be a balance. For me, it's easy because I have a very curious mind. So a lot of it's just kind of satisfy my curiosity. And there's a lot of literatures out there. It's impossible to consume all of them, but now you can ask GPT to summarize it for you. And I also lean on my group of peers because we can learn from each other. And I really enjoy this process. It brings so much joy. So for me, the harder part is to be balanced, to still have time to work out and exercise and sleep and spend time with family and friends and not just kind of get lost in a black hole. There are definitely times I just feel like I'm completely lost in a black hole. And that's okay once in a while, but it's very much a fun process for me to kind of keep me up to date and get the exposure, and also appreciate how available information is, or either it's publications or people blogging and sharing. So there is just really a wealth of knowledge out there.
And I think that you nailed it right on the head, that you need to consume the right amount of information so you can actually take that information and apply it, right?
Yeah.
Because if you don't have time to apply it, then
Yeah.
what's the benefit of knowing? And you also touched on having some kind of life outside of
Yeah. That's
work and
important.
passions. And what does your typical day look like? How do you slice it up to be the most productive?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm definitely not the most productive. I'm easily distracted. But you and I, we share this interest in fitness. Yeah, so my day typically is a good day. Is I wake up early and I go exercise. And do some cardio and some weight training and just stretching and relax a little bit and then start the day. But of course, some days as I wake up, I open up my laptop, I start working and then work the days away. I do think it's really important to exercise, to really keep not just of course it's good for your health, but it's also good for your mental health and help you focus to have a sustaining power, right? To continue to work with very high intensity for a long period of time. So I kind of benefited a lot from training. I have a great trainer. I train with him 3 days a week, and then the rest of the days I try to pick up some cardio, go hiking, and so forth. So I think that is really important. I've been telling all of my friends, you gotta go work out because I firsthand experienced it did make a huge difference in actually elevating my productivity, my ability to focus, and I'm just feeling better, like happier, less anxious, sleep better. Yeah.
I feel like probably we can say that it elevates the quality of your life.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And in life, it's not a zero sum with this is life, this is work, because when people say work-life balance, they feel like they need to work less to balance more. For me, it's actually full alignment, right? You're a healthier person. You can be more productive at work. You can be happier. You can be a better friend, better mom, and just overall like a better person all around.
100%. And when I say life, I mean the whole thing, right? It's not, life is not the amount of time outside work, right?
Yeah.
At least like that's
I
how
totally agree with you.
that's how I perceive it.
Yeah.
And like there's a big trend going on in Silicon Valley around longevity, and it's now spreading way outside of Silicon Valley, but becoming more of a global trend, I think. And I'm very tuned to that. But is that something that you have been also tapping into in terms of exploring some routines that you could introduce? Or
yeah. Not really, but I have read some of these literatures, but I'm not that serious. I do have a couple wearables, but it's just really being physically active, because I wasn't physically active. So I was the kid that failed PE. I just really didn't participate in sports or anything most of my how I grew up, and so there's like a lot of catching up. But when I started exercising and training, I I felt so much better, and so that's why I want to share this experience with my friends and everybody that I know that it is so important, and is I wish I knew earlier. Yeah.
what was the thing that made the change for you? How did you get onto a trend and realize, oh, this is actually great?
Yeah. It's actually because I actually wasn't feeling so great. Yeah. So, and just, I read a few books and I started trying, and then I felt the difference. So a little bit of an iterative process. And that, in the last few years has become a routine.
Well, I'm so happy to hear that it helped you to feel a lot better.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What would you say has been one of the toughest moments when you were navigating your journey as a leader in the tech space?
Yeah, like I said earlier, it definitely wasn't easy. But I think the challenges make it meaningful, right? Yeah. And the challenges come in many different shapes and forms. And a few things. One is we talked about the evolution, but changes are hard. Yeah. And every time we learn something new, there's a invisible cost is you have to unlearn something. I mean, including both in terms of technology. For example, I actually have done a lot of the traditional NLP work. Now it's called traditional now because the large language model came to be. And then you have to unlearn all these things that you became so familiar with and were an expert of, and then throw yourself as a newbie, right, to learn, okay, this is how a new way of solving similar problems, or even you redefine the problems even altogether, right? So I've been having conversations with colleagues who also have spent years in NLP. There's like almost sense of anger, like, oh, this is just regurgitating words. It's just statistical model. It didn't actually understand the linguistics element of it. I empathize, right? But then you have to put that behind and really learn something new, right? And so this is a constant struggle, and it's not easy.
I totally feel you. And I think that the reason why we are experiencing it right now is that the pace of how the technology evolves is way, way faster than how, the generations are brought up. Because like over, one's lifespan, you can experience many of those, as we call it, platform shifts. And if you always want to be operating at the top of the game, you pretty much have to be ready to throw everything away and start from scratch, because it's like new tool sets that you need, it's new approaches, it's new everything. And the fact that you have built a career in the past decade in one area does not mean that with a fresh college graduate, for example, that you have a lot more experience in something that is just coming up.
Yeah.
Because they might be, fully primed to absorb all the knowledge, versus you have already been doing things certain way and you have to relearn. So I feel like that's an interesting momentum, because I think that the previous generations, they were not really used to things changing so often, right? You would pick a career, you would do it for pretty much the rest of your life. But now, especially in the tech space, it seems like you might need to relearn multiple times throughout your journey, because it just evolves so quickly.
Yes, all the time. Yeah. So I think it's really important to enjoy that process and embrace it.
Yeah, we gotta keep learning.
Exactly.
That's for sure. What is your take on artificial general intelligence, and how soon it is, and if we are there? How do you look at this whole problematic?
Yeah. I'm an optimistic person and very much believe in technology. And of course, we all read a lot of sci-fi novels, but somehow, like almost all of them are dystopia. Yeah. It's not clear to me what the definition is of generative AI. There are many different. I think it's a more subjective term than not. All right. Even the Turing test. I was listening to a talk that Yang LeCun, I was a scientist at Facebook and then Turing Award winner. He said, "Oh no, that test, if Turing is alive today, he would rewrite it already." Right. So I don't think it's quite a standard definition of what generative AI means. But I gave a talk in 2018 on machine learning and AI, and people asked me, what can AI replace us and replace our jobs? And the context was a recruiter, right? Can we build a robot recruiter that can just, many recruiters are having successful career everywhere in the world. Would this profession become obsolete? And I said, absolutely not. I said the feeling of when you shake hands with someone, when you look them in the eyes, when that sense of empathy, that sense of two human beings connecting cannot be replaced, right? Who knew pandemic hit and we no longer shake hands?
That was a big hit.
I think I gave that talk right in 2019 or something, not knowing, what was coming. But that part, My thinking on that evolved a little bit. I do want to train an AI model with empathy, right? Just from your tone of voice, from what you are sharing with me, that to try to empathize and be a good partner, to be a good, like good AI, to be kind to one another. I believe you can teach the AI to be kind and empathetic and understand at a deeper level, at the emotional level, right? When the user send you a prompt, that just to go not just try to impute what how this person is feeling, right? That's a very fun experiment. I'll share more later. But that said, I still believe in just interpersonal relationships. In a way, that is a very important part of meaning of life, right? That we care about each other. There are people that care about my existence in this world, right? When that's taken
Oh,
away,
no doubts about
right?
that.
Yeah, yeah. And then going back to the story you shared, like your mom created a really fun invite. That creativity, and that comes with emotion, right? Both how she felt and how you felt when you get that invites, right? Like all of these cannot be replaced, or can they all be generated, right? So I don't think about intelligence just as solving a math problem or pass the bar, but really these emotional connections, or we call EQ, right? I think that is what I really value, and that, and maybe we never want to replace that, right? And some of the tasks we can have AI and computer replace that, but that emotional connection, that feeling that we share, I think that the creativity that we have will kind of remain to
So we
to
will
us.
we will leverage AI to do all the heavy lifting, and we'll be just here sharing the emotions.
Exactly.
In a way.
Exactly. Yeah.
So besides what you are building with Proactive AI Lab, um, pending that there will be a big reveal soon,
Yeah.
I can't wait for it. What are some of the other pieces of technology that you would love to see come to life, or that you are looking forward to leveraging later down the road?
AR, VR, definitely. We talked about that earlier, right? I think these devices will continue to accelerate its advancement. Lighter weight, more compute. More compute is important, so the experience can be more immersive. More like every time you turn your head, there's like a lot of compute to render these frames. And right now, I think it's still a little bit of hit and miss. And of course, the price point hopefully will come down from like $3,000 to much lower. And you mentioned the glasses, right? The AR experience, I think, is super interesting as well. And then the generative AI, it's all part of it, right? And then the other part is just probably at a more granular, more specific level, that generative AI could help us either as a professional doing your job, or as a business in a lot of the processes you could automate, and also for at the personal level. Similar to what you shared your mom's experience, but even more, and they probably would become not just software, and become hardware as well. Probably there will be new devices coming, like what a toaster can. Right, I heard, right, a toaster can make a perfect toast with computer vision and everything. Yeah, so probably more prevalent and more ubiquitous. Yeah.
So, do you have any sense of how our lives could look like in the next decade, in terms of what form factor of a device we will be using, wearing, or having implanted,
Yeah.
whatever that is?
Yeah.
What's the wildest
Yeah.
ideas that you have in your head how we could be living on this planet Earth?
Yeah, yeah. I do think democratize the access to models, algorithms is very important. I think just like anything else that was so powerful, it also comes with danger, right? And in my humble opinion, I think when there's a truly democratized access to it, it kind of balances itself out, right? Versus the small group of people that have access and most people don't, and then it kind of becomes a concern, right? And that is, I believe, is fully headed toward that direction through open source and so on and so forth. And I do believe the cost of compute will over time come down as well, just kind of looking at history. So right now it's a little bit of an imbalance of supply and demand with this explosive growth on the demand side. It comes with some concerns as well. I recently had a discussion with some educators about generative AI in classrooms. You can't prohibit it, but I also heard some schools are trying to prohibit it. They say, the kids need to put your phone in a basket and you do tests with pencil and paper now because ChatGPT can do any problems you're testing and all the kids will be getting 100%. That's kind of, you lost the whole point of assessing, right? So, and also in higher education, right? Like how can you embrace it and integrate this capability into how we teach the next generation, right? That's, I think there's great opportunity ahead, but also a lot of question marks. Yeah. So I invested in a company, I'll do a plug here, called Quizzard. Amazing, very young entrepreneurs and just, they first built a mobile app to help students when they get stuck, right? And now, we're thinking, okay, how can we build a system that is more embedded in the traditional education system? So these, I feel very excited. I do feel there's a great opportunity, but the platform is shifting. And so, I love to invite, all of us to really help contribute to that shift. So we're more intentional and more deliberate and have the outcome that we anticipate. Because either you reject it, that doesn't work, or you just can let it be. Sometimes it just, goes off to a place you don't want it to be.
Thank you so much for listening or watching to the very end. I hope that can only mean one thing, that you really enjoyed it. And if you did, please go ahead and follow us, subscribe or write a review, and it will be tremendously appreciated by our side. In the meantime, there are a bunch of other episodes that you can check out. And I'll be looking forward to catching you next time.